So Jesus had been healing people and teaching and all of that kind of stuff. And that's the background to the story. Then, when Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness, when he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. Therefore, ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." Then Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits, to cast them out and to cure every disease and every sickness. These are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, also known as Peter, and his brother Andrew. James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James, son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanian, and Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions: "Go nowhere among the Gentiles, and enter no town of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. As you go, proclaim the good news. The kingdom of heaven has come near. Cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. You received without payment, give without payment." And this is the word of God for us, the people of God. Thanks be to God. And so, today is Father's Day. Father's Day is a good day. We remember our fathers. Now, the United Methodist Church is just considering an amendment to the Book of Discipline, which is our rule book. We got a new rule book this last time. I was at annual conference. You guys better be careful. You send me to annual conference without supervision, and I come back with ideas. And so, I don't know that you want to be sending me there without supervision. So, Becky was supposed to go supervise me, and she couldn't get off. So, I guess it'll be Becky's fault. She can make it. Right. And so there's an amendment to the Book of Discipline, which says that to think of God as male or female is not really appropriate, because God is a spirit. Maleness and femaleness are the characteristics of human beings. And that God, and remember on Mother's Day I talked about, God has the characteristics of mothers and fathers, that our parents take care of us, and our parents nurture us. They gave us life, and they teach us, and they protect us, and they are people that we can go to when we are struggling. And so that's what, when we think of Father's Day and God the Father, we don't want to mix up God the Father with just a male only symbol. That kind of harkens back to the days when men are in charge of everything, and that was okay, but maybe that's not so much true anymore. That men are in charge of everything, women are equal now too, and so that amendment is before the United Methodist Church. When I think of Father's Day, I think of my dad, because it's Father's Day, right? And my dad was a cool guy. I loved my dad dearly. I was Daddy's girl because I was the firstborn, and my dad took me with him and did things with me. I never realized that I was the girls couldn't do things. Until I was almost grown, because my dad didn't have a boy for a really long time, and so he took me with him to do things. And so when he would go and work on things for people, I was the one that got to go and hold the flashlight. Do you ever hold the flashlight for somebody? It's an amazing thing. When you hold the flashlight, your nose will itch. It will always happen if you're holding the flashlight. And my dad would get cranky if I would move the flashlight around. But my dad, I thought he knew everything. I was sure he knew everything. And he would think of things that I would never think of, things that I would never have connected together. My dad did. I remember real vividly when I was in high school, the seniors, I was maybe a freshman or a sophomore. The seniors always had a senior prank. Remember the senior pranks, right? So the senior prank that particular year I thought was ingenious. It was like January. It was cold, maybe February. They snuck onto the bus lot. Back in those days, it was unlocked. Do you remember this, Kim? And they took the keys out of buses, and they put them in a paper sack, and they left them on the desk of the principal in the high school, which I thought was awesome because nobody got hurt. Right. They didn't vandalize anything. They didn't steal anything. I thought that was a perfect prank. And I said that to my dad. And he said, well, you think? He said, oh, sure, it's funny for the high school kids. It's January. How many little kids were standing out waiting for buses that were 2 hours late? How many of those kids got locked out of their houses because mom put them at the bus stop and went to work? What if some kids who were hanging around at the bus stop for 2 extra hours were goofing around and somebody got shoved into traffic? He said, I don't think that's so funny. Today we call that a buzzkill. My dad could suck the fun out of anything, you know? And it's like, that was a perfectly good prank and you just ruined it. But he was right. You know, in my 16, 17-year-old brain, it seemed like a perfect prank. But when you think about and you put all of the other pieces together that you can't see, all of a sudden, it didn't seem like such a good prank after all. And so I thought my dad was a genius because he could put all those things together in ways that I never thought of. Now, upon further reflection at the advanced age that I am now, being a grandmother and all of that, I realized that some of that was just adulthood. You know, you think a little farther past your bubble once you get grown than you do when you're 17 or 16 years old. But at the time, I thought it was because my dad was a genius. So that's what I thought. But that idea of putting things together and making them, a new idea or connecting the dots, so to speak, is something that my dad was really good at. It's something that I really admire. I like that, connecting the dots. And so I'm going to connect the dots here, I think. I'm going to try to connect the dots. So I went to annual conference, and I saw all kinds of really cool things. And I came back, and I talked to Chesley, and I talked to Becky, to different people that I ran into. I talked to Molly by email. And so I got ideas, do you know? I got ideas. And one of the ideas, obviously, is the altar. The altar looks different this morning. Did you notice that? It looks different. And it occurred to me when I was looking at, you know, we were doing worship at annual conference and pictures and all that kind of stuff, that the altars in almost all of the churches today are not against the back wall. Do you know why the altars used to be against the back wall? Because the altar was for God, and God was far away. And so only the priest in the Catholic Church could approach the altar. It was like that. In the Hebrew world, only the high priest could go into the Holy of Holies, and there was a curtain there. And I think there's a story that they used to tie a rope to the guy's foot because they thought when he went in to approach God, he might be dropped dead from seeing God and they had to drag him out, right? Because nobody else could go in there. Well, in the 1960s, the Catholic Church decided that that really wasn't what we believed about God, that he was unapproachable. And on Father's Day, it's good for us to remember that God is not unapproachable. God is our Father. And we say it Father with a capital F and scrolly letters, but Jesus told us to think of God as Abba. Abba, Father. Abba is the Jewish word for dad. Now, dad shouldn't be unapproachable and far away. Dad should be closer to us. And the altar is not an altar in the Christian world. The altar is a table. The table that we gather around. Well, you can't gather around it if it's against the wall. You can't get up to it. And so I thought, wow, maybe we should pull it out. And then I thought, you know, I bet that the sanctuary in the church last Sunday, remember when it was back against the wall and the cross and the candle and the pyramids, how long has that looked exactly like that?
Sometimes about 14.
That's kind of a while. Exactly. And, you know, ever since I've come to this church, it always looked exactly the same. And the problem with things that always look exactly the same is that you quit looking at them. You quit seeing them. Because they're always exactly the same, and you quit thinking about what it means. We quit thinking that the altar is a table, and it's just a piece of furniture. And we don't look at the sanctuary, we don't think about worshiping God because we're just going through the motions. we're just doing what it is that we did last week and what we did the week before and what we'll do next week and what we'll do a year from now. That it's the same. And while there's comfort in sameness, there's also danger in things that are the same. Because when things are just the same all the time, you're not thinking your way through them. You're just going through the motions. And that's not what God wants from us. He doesn't want us to just go through the motions. He wants us to love Him. Now, I love my dad, but I don't love him today the same way that I loved him when I was 5. And I didn't love him when I was 15 the same way I did when I was 5. And you know, your ideas change because my dad was a real person and I interacted with him. And in memory, I think of the way that I interacted with him, and my ideas about my dad change as I change and grow. And our relationship with God needs to be the same way. It needs to not be a stagnant, dead thing. If our religion, if our belief in God, if our relationship isn't alive, then we're missing something. That's not what Jesus came for. Jesus came to show us that God is a real being. God is real. And God cares about us in real time. He cares about what we're doing every day. He cares about this church every day. And we need to keep that idea of God alive in our minds. And so I thought, I'm going to change the altar. Now, I just, in full disclosure, I just pulled it out, what was it? Thursday night we were here to practice and to do some other things. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Yes, I remember. And so I pulled it out and just to see what it looked like. And said, Becky, what do you think? And we pulled it out and we took some stuff off of it. And she's like, oh, I like it. And I said, oh, I think so too. I said, I'm going to talk to some people about it. So I started to put it back. She said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to put it back. She said, no, it looks good. Leave it out. And I thought, ooh, I can incorporate that into the sermon this morning. And you know, that change is good and that we need to look at God with fresh eyes. Now, we changed some other things. Hopefully you noticed we've got the plaque for Mary Ann in the window over here. Now, we meant to go in that window. Again, full disclosure, it would have taken scaffolding to get that off there without risking Chris and Martin's life and limb. And we didn't want to kill them the week before Father's Day, so we decided to go down the road there. So we've set the pattern. It's going to go down that way. So we've got that plaque in to honor Mary Ann, who was the longest serving pastor here. And that fits in too because, you know, things stay the same and things change. And that's good. And so we need to honor the past and we need to honor and bring with us the best of our history. But we also need to take forward things into the future, that we can't be stagnant and stay the same. Now, speaking of connecting the dots, it occurred to me that our best ministry, one of our best ministries, one of our best right now is the heifer thing with the kids. That's one of our best ministries now. But traditionally, one of our best ministries here has been our prayer ministry. You know, we have these prayer shawls, right? That different ones of us have made, and we give these to people when they are sick or hurt, and they have been a real blessing to people. Molly took one to a co-worker in Kansas City, and it was a huge blessing for her to know that people were thinking of her and praying. Yes. We had Cliff was buried with his. You know, so we had given out, I don't know, maybe 30 of these over the years since we've been doing this. We've been doing this for a while now, probably 6, 7, 8 years, long time. So I've made a bunch of them. Vicki made us a bunch of them. She would knit. Sherry's making us some now. Sherry's knitting. So that prayer ministry is really important. And last year when I went to annual conference, there was a big thing about prayer, and I came back full of ideas, but they sort of got away from me. So this time, I thought, we need to not let it get away from us. And so when this morning's reading, when the scripture this morning was, come with me into the fields, the harvest is plenty, but laborers are few. Jesus says to the crowds, he saw the crowds and had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. Boy, you couldn't say that about our world today, could you? Oh, well, maybe you could. Do the people in our world seem harassed and helpless? Does the world feel like it needs a shepherd? And so here we sit, confident in our shepherd, in Jesus, knowing that we have a firm and wonderful relationship with God the Father. And 80% of the people in America don't know that. They don't have a relationship with God. And so I'm ashamed to say that on Thursday night, was it Thursday night, Martin, after we left here, or the week before? I don't know. It must have been the week before. Week before, when we were here to take the window out, you know, I hadn't driven around Crescent in a long time. Now, I grew up here. I lived here a long time. Martin and I lived here as adults. And, what's the matter with you? Okay. And so, we drove around. I drove around Crescent. I was embarrassed because I don't know my own community. Here I am now, the pastor. I'm officially the pastor. I got approved at annual conference. I'm officially the pastor, and I haven't been in my own community. Didn't need to go in my own community because I grew up there. I already knew what it looked like. Well, guess what? Looks different. Looks a lot different. How many people that live out in this community are harassed and helpless? How many of them need a shepherd? I don't know. I don't have any idea because we haven't really made much of an attempt to reach out to see. Because we're thinking that we're just little Lewis Chapel, minding our own business, doing our thing, and that the people that are here are people that have been here for a long time, or that have known somebody that was here for a long time, or related to people that were here for a long time, right? All of us in this room, all of us, are either have been here for a long time, and or are related to somebody that was here for a long time, correct? Every one of us. It's time to start connecting the dots. God, Jesus sent us on a mission. The harvest is plenty. There are lots of people out there that need to know God. The laborers are few. My friends, look around. There are just a few of us here. Last week there were only 11. The week before that there were 10. The laborers are few. So come with me into the fields. Are you ready to go out and be in the fields? Now, I tricked you because you all said, let's go, when you greeted each other. So we're going to do something radically different this morning. A heavy silence follows over the room. We're going to go outside the doors of this church, and we're going to connect the old with the new. We're going to pray, because that's one of our strongest ministries, and we're going to pray for them. And them, and them, and then we're going to pray for the people outside of here. Because the harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. But if we pray, we're not alone. We've been talking about that, right? I talked about that a couple weeks ago. We are not alone. God is with us, and the Spirit is with us. And so when we go out to pray, now, originally I wanted to walk the neighborhood and pray, but after driving the neighborhood, I realized very quickly that that was impractical. So I'm saving you walking the neighborhood, so you can be glad. But we're going to go outside the doors of this church right now, and we're going to pray. All right? So everybody, let's go.